Welcome to Conversations with Educators. I'm your host, Jerome Ellison, and today I have a special and returning guest, Licia Lentz. Thank
Mhm.
you, Licia, for coming back on the show.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, yes. So before we begin, can you just, remind us of a role you've had in education or your current role in education?
Yeah, so I've done all the things. I've been a teacher, I've been a principal, I dabbled in curriculum, I was an assistant superintendent, I actually worked for the state, and now I work for the county and I am the director of alternative ed. So we have two alternative ed schools that focus on, kiddos that mess up and get sent out, and we do some transitional processes with juvenile probation as well.
Excellent, excellent. So this is why I would love to get your opinion on this topic. So AI is huge in schools, a lot of talk around AI, and kids are using it, teachers are using it, and it's going to be used a lot more. So I want to hear what you think. So I want to play a quick game called Hopes, Fears, and Ideas. You ready?
Mhm.
So let's start with your hopes and fears. Do you have any hopes or fears around AI in schools?
So, as an administrator, I love myself some chat GPT. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I showed it to my teachers on how to be more effective. Um, I used it most recently last week because one of my principals was like, hey, I need a progressive discipline model for this situation. Can you see what's out there? And I'm like, yeah, let's go on chat GPT because what it does is it kind of does all of the work for you, right? Like you have the idea what you want, and then you're able to kind of cut a lot of time out of your schedule. So when I look at it as administrative functions, when you're talking with teachers, principals, administrators, all things, right? Like it's fine. Even teachers with their lesson planning or getting creative. I don't see the harm in it, right? For kids using it, I'm not gonna lie. I had to help my daughter with sixth grade math. I sure did go on my phone, my Google
Yep.
Gemini and ask because I was like confused.
Mhm.
So, I see the benefits there. Um, I don't think of it as cheating, right? Like I look at it like, remember the Cliff Notes? I don't know, you might be younger than me.
I
Remember
remember
the Cliff
Cliff
Notes?
Cliff Notes got me through
Like,
college. No,
right,
definitely.
like I wasn't about to read some of those books back in the day. Like that was just too much. So I got the black and white Cliff Notes and kept it moving. So, I think it's just a tool that whenever we introduce it and teach it, I think it needs to be rolled out correctly, right? Like I think we have to give a lot of structured professional development to staff so that they understand what it is and what it isn't and how to infuse it into their classrooms and then teach kids how to not only rely on the ideas of others but take an idea that possibly you have and see what else is out there and then form another idea around it. So I see it that way, how it could really help in terms of making kids more critically think about what else is out there and get more points of view, right? So I look at it that way.
Yeah.
So I just hope that, we take it upon ourselves as, the adults in the room, and I use that term lightly, to make sure it's rolled out correctly to our kids.
Mm. And I do think to that point, I do think it's gonna be some trial and error, right? We have to take risk and we're gonna bump our heads a little bit like with any new technology, but I think the more we jump into the water and figure it out and collaborate and
Mhm.
share, the things that work, the things that doesn't work, and give each other grace with that process, I think that will help us move faster than to not jump in the water at all and just watch the water from afar. We never,
100%.
you know? Definitely. How about ideas? What ideas did you have?
Um,
In terms of like
you know,
rolling it out to teachers or rolling it out to
yeah,
students? Like
so
how?
the one thing, I had it on, we have like a guru in my organization that does, AI and everything. And so he was going to do a professional development with my staff, couldn't do it. So I did like quick and dirty, right? And so I just was like, here, you could do this. I showed them like lesson plan. I showed them different things, how you can build off of things you ask. And they were like, oh, okay. But I think that, we have to make teachers comfortable with it. Unlike a lot of things in education, everyone's like, this too shall pass. This ain't going anywhere.
Well,
It's not. So just like anything else, just like, when computers entered education, 30 years ago, when mobile devices have crept into our kids' hands, we have to be champions of the change, right? So I would just, encourage, and a good idea would be is like I said before, be strategic with your professional development. Make sure teachers are comfortable with it and not combative with it, so that when kids are using it, it is more of a tool and it's not a crutch, if that makes sense, right? We don't want it to be a crutch for kids. We don't want kids to, well, I have to do a research paper on, the storming of Normandy, and you put it in Chat GPT and it comes up and kids aren't, we don't want that, but we want kids to be able to, if they have a different thought or an idea, to be able to use AI to help them formulate that thought even deeper. But teachers, we have to jump on it, like you said. Like, we can't just let this pass us by, because it's not. And I'm a proud Gen Xer, right? And I remember my first like AOL email account, and I was like, what is this? Like, I remember dial-up and everything. And as a teacher or an administrator, an educator, right, and doing this for about 20 years, like, I had to evolve too. Like, I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable with what's in front of me and making it a learning process with kids. So I think it could really, be a learning process together. So I guess one idea would be to almost like coexist in the learning together, teacher and student, to make sure that we're getting the same thing, and we both see that, we may be scared, it may be something new or difficult, but working together we can figure it out and see how it can enhance our classes. So I think definitely partnering with our kids, as silly as maybe it sounds, they're tech savvy, we try to be. So I think it really is a partnership with students and teachers to really see how this fits into the classroom, the instructional practices, and the curriculum.
Great point. Great point. I think I'm an admin now, but at my core, I'm a math teacher, and I always think about calculators and how, a lot of us was just like, no, calculators, don't use them, don't use them, don't use them. They give the kids the answers, even programs like Desmos. And it's like, no, we can use these tools in an effective way and still use it as a tool to educate kids and provide more access to kids and more differentiated instruction. So I do think we have to look to see how we can use AI in that same kind of way.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts or words for any policymaker, educator, administrator, anyone in the field of education? What would you tell them in terms of AI?
I would say, because we didn't really tackle like the fear part of it.
Okay.
AI generated images could be detrimental to our kids. I see it now when I'm scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. I just saw one, and it's Kelly Clarkson talking about her weight loss, but it's 100% AI and a voiceover. And I'm like, this is fake. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, whatever. I think we have to make sure people understand copyright laws. I don't like how it infringes on the musicians and the artists like that. Like, I know some stuff had come out with sampling of music, and I think the sampling of music we've done for decades now, and we try to recreate things, but I think AI takes it to a different level of like impersonation, and I don't think that's cool at all. So I think we have to be vigilant with our policies when it comes to video, audio, more media-based type things. We can't, God forbid, have an AI generated picture of somebody or a teacher or whatever, and it go viral, and it leads to God forbid someone harms himself or whatever, right? It can't be that way. So I think we have to definitely draw the line of what is like educational and learning and instructional, as opposed to imposter, right? And making sure that we are not using someone's image and likeness without their permission. And so I think policy should be structured around that. I think we have to be very careful. I know more and more schools, the conversation of cell phones, I mean, it's 2025. I have two of them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think we have to get a little bit smarter about what we do of technology anyway, right? And learn how to trust our young people. Because if we tell them they can't do something, they're going to prove to us that they can, right? So I think that we have to trust our young people with the technology, and that means all aspects of it, right? So to get ahead of the AI, and what we talked about before is like the educational purposes, the instructional purposes, creative thinking, all of the things, saving time,
Mhm.
but also not you know infringing on someone's rights in terms of their creative expression, their image and likeness, things of that nature. So I think we have to be very balanced in that, and understand that there's always a dark side to everything, right? And so, but we have to work in conjunction with our kids, our legislators, and not to get too crazy, but like the whole thing that they did with TikTok, like, what are we doing?
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Come on, this is, I thought we were in the United States.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So like we have to make sure that we understand that our kids in this generation, these new kids, I mean, my daughter's 11, like they know what's up. And so we have to be mindful of that, but also still do our due diligence in protecting them
Mhm.
from the dark side of AI and technology in general. So I will get off of my high horse now because I tend to stay there for a long time.
No, that was well said. I think that was much needed because, like you said, if you ban anything, our kids are going to find ways to do it, or there's going to be something else that pops up. So AI is here to stay. We just have to create structure and supports to safeguard it. And to that point, I think this is why I like talking to educators about this topic because I think in the conversation with policymakers and people who make these decisions, I think educators' voice have to be involved because we're the
100%.
people on the ground and can really tell you how it can be supportive and then also give you some of the heads up and things to look after because we know what happens in schools. So I think that's part of why I do this as well. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep. Thank
All right.
you.
Yes, thanks again, Lisa, for coming on the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you.
Take care.